Rosalind is a princess and she is banished from the court where she lives. So initially, I guess she's driven by fear and displacement, but then she falls in love. And for the rest of the play, she is driven entirely by love.
I always say that CELIA is 50% Rosalind, which is her best friend. She is the quintessential best friend role that you would identify with in like any rom-com, basically. CELIA's profound commitment to her friendship with Rosalind is the inciting incident that leads them into the Forest of Arden.
Orlando at the start of the play is stuck at home, basically under the thumb of his older brother Oliver, who's essentially got him working in the garden. Orlando has basically had enough and says, I'm going out on the road, which leads him to the wrestling match, which leads him to Rosalind. And from the moment he's met Rosalind, his entire life is turned upside down.
My whole objective when performing Shakespeare is to make people understand. I pick out words that I know people can cling on to, and I really hit those really hard and try and give them the story, you know, in gesture and in expression. In every possible way, I try and help them along with the script, because I've heard some of these scenes 5 times and I'm only just going, oh, that's what that means. So I know how difficult it is if you're not, you know, well-versed in Shakespearean language. So that's my main objective.
I find with rehearsals, the best technique is allowing yourself to fail and trying anything and everything, even if it feels wrong. You've just got to follow your instinct and your gut and your heart and really get in your instrument and allow your instinct to take you where you need to go on the floor. And I need to be able to fail and feel safe in front of my colleagues to then figure out what is the best option.
The way I like to rehearse is to really attack the scene, attack the character, just get it up on its feet and work from a place of kind of impulse and your initial instincts about it, the information you're getting from the text and the director and the other actors. Once you've got a kind of a sketch of the scene or an initial feeling about the direction you're headed in, I like to try a bunch of different ways of doing it, just to test out some other possible roads.
The main driving force behind Sylvia's is Phoebe. He is a hopeless romantic. He's a sort of a doe-eyed wanderer. Trying to give myself the permission to just play within the scenes, and to it's tricky as well because we'd come off 2 weeks of Zoom rehearsals. It was, I think, just finding the joy in it, finding the play, having fun.
With any script, but particularly Shakespeare, is the meaning and getting clarity. I always find going back to just the simplest action of the scene, what someone's saying in each particular moment, and I really find just with another cast member, getting in a quiet space, and I'm doing this in my dressing room, and just sort of saying, can I just say this speech to you or talk through this scene? And it's not about acting, it's just, I want you to tell me if you don't understand anything I say.
Like one of the scenes where I speak with Oliver, the character. So whenever I see the guy who's playing Oliver, like in the hallway or something, I say, hey, let's do this. Let's and then so we go, you know, and then we say our lines and all that, and it sort of gets into our head.
I know that when people sit down sometimes and they must pick up Shakespeare to study, like, what on earth did this mean? We go through exactly the same thing. It's almost in code when you first read, and a lot of those words aren't you don't know what they are, but in order to let an audience know what the play means, we have to be so on top of it.
It's really unusual to have access to the set in the theatre from so early on, and we had that from our second week of being in person because we were coming out of a lockdown and there was no show happening currently at that theatre.
The way I embody CELIA is definitely through voice. For me as an actor, voice is possibly the most important key into your character because it's the centre of communication. And I have a typically low voice, and I wanted to explore where CELIA was in that range in comparison to Rosalind, how that will sound to the audience if I'm less of a mirror but actually quite different to her, so it sounds nice. And I've experimented with a few different ranges, and I found myself going up really high, and then I had to talk with Simon and use my breath and bring myself back down and really ground her, because CELIA is quite grounded, prudent, opinionated. I had to give her this sort of really princess English, old English accent and try and keep it low at the same time. So it's kind of hard because she talks like this and she's very proper, and it makes me want to go like all the way up here. But if I go up there, then it's just stick way too like the Queen. So I have to really go down and just try and ground her. And that's actually been quite challenging.
For me, for playing Audrey, I listened to a lot of Manchester BBC to really try to encapsulate this accent. And I think it suits her, this kind of slow sing-songy.
When I'm playing AQUES, I try to use the full range of my voice. So I like to try to open up the bottom end, the kind of baritone sort of end of my voice, to give AQUES something to really wallow in. But then when he meets Touchstone and he's so delighted, I really try to use lots of different colours in my voice. I try to use the full range of my voice to sort of be as playful as I can, I guess.
Frederick is emotionally standoffish. He doesn't let people get close to him, so that is a physical choice I've made. He maintains distance. He is very rigid, upright. He walks with a cane, and that cane is for two reasons. One, it's to give him a sense of authority, to compensate for his inadequacy, but also it's an extension of who he is.
In the rehearsal process, it was really interesting being a violinist and doing lots of singing in this production, that the way that we would rehearse the songs is as a band, but also then with the different characters coming in and saying their lines as we would play through them, so that we could get a sense of what the songs were trying to do in these scenes.
And the idea of sticking to the iambic I found really helpful, so stressing every second syllable throughout the sentence. So especially when you read a Shakespeare, I do, and I have no idea what this is about to begin with, and it's a bit of an investigative process where you're looking up words and then you're looking up different translations, but to make sense of the line, it also really helps to know where to stress the word to give the sense of it.
Iambic, learning iambic, it makes a huge difference. Like, I remember when I first got the script, I was rambling and rushing, trying to get it out as quick as possible because I really didn't know what I was kind of talking about. And the more you start to understand the text, the more flow. The flow is really important, I think, and hitting the sort of like the emphasized words, like in the iambic. Like it's like he knew what he was doing when he did the